C.J. Stroud and Tank Dell, they were co-guests on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. And really good stuff, really interesting stuff. Some a little heavy, some a little lighter. We'll get to both in this segment here. But this is the first time I think we've heard Tank Dell kind of open up about what happened a month or so ago, probably close to 2 months now, in Florida at the pool party he was at. This is Tank describing what exactly happened at the shooting where he suffered that leg wound, which he is all the way back from now.
First off, I'm blessed. To me, it was just wrong place, wrong time. I went back to see my mom. I wasn't even planning to go back and go to the little pool party or whatever, but, my boys thought that I was home, so they hit me up. They was like, pull up to the party. They told me it was going to be security, people getting checked at the door, stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, cool. It's a good vibe. And there was a lot of people that I knew in there, so it was like cool. And then that just popped off out of nowhere. Like, it just went south out of nowhere. And I thought I removed myself from the situation. Like, when you see on the video when I ran across, I thought I removed myself from the situation of the little altercation when they was fighting. But I put myself in the middle of, like, two people. And it just went crazy.
That's, it's scary hearing him describe it, man, because you go back to that video.
There's a lot of confusion. And then when you watch that video, the place clears out so fast.
Yeah.
Tank, did he open up about who the slow person was in front of him?
He did not. Not in the clips.
I feel like there's Tank's trying to get out using his 4.3 speed. He's got some 5'1" clodhopper in front of him. He might as well have been like a running back running behind me or something.
No, that was like Altuve running behind Maldi on the bases.
Yeah.
On the rare occasion that happened back in the days.
Like if that guy hadn't been there, I think Tank could have gotten out maybe scot-free.
Might have escaped, yeah.
That guy deserves that. I hope he gets cut. He's not allowed.
Not allowed to go to pool parties anymore.
If he happened to be friends with Tank, he's cut from the friend group.
That's right.
That's it was upsetting to me that so many people jumped to like immediately assuming the worst and that Tank must be involved with like a really bad crew of former kids from his high school or something. It just perhaps that is, but I don't think. When you look at that actual club and where it is, I mean, it's a private events place at a marina. It's not like if somebody were inviting me to go to it, I wouldn't have necessarily thought anything of it. So wrong place at the wrong time, but I guess it's a really good reminder to him as well as other athletes. You got to be super vigilant about what is the right place and the right time.
Well, yeah, and that sample space, if you're looking to be the best you can be at what you do, looking to stay available, looking to stay safe more than anything else, the list of not that Tank was a target in this instance necessarily, but there are instances where that probably happens. But the list is shrunk now, places you can just hang out and feel like, hey, it's just like it was when we were 16, 17 years old. CJ actually touched on this dynamic.
Even though we know that we normal, we regular still, like, maybe like the people around us, they still don't know that, so like they still bring us around them environment. So like it was a good moment for me to realize like, man, I can't go home and do the same things that I was doing too. Because sometimes when I go home, that's where I'm comfortable at. You know, it's like going to the pool parties, going to the bowling alleys or like the skating rinks or to the house parties. Like just the people I grew up with. Like I ain't changed. Like that's because I got a little bit of money, but for that moment to happen like that quick, man, it was like an eye-opening experience, not only for Tank, but really for the rest of the world, athletes all around.
Yeah, that's where he said I haven't changed. Like that's where no matter how much you might feel like that, the fact of the matter is you have changed a lot in the minds of some people back where you are, and like you can change the energy of a room just by walking into it without doing anything wrong at all. Because in any group of people out at a club or in a bar or something, there's gonna be a few guys in there, even if they don't have it against you personally. It kind of amps up like the hierarchy concerns, like a guy that wants to feel like he's the alpha or what have you. There's just no accounting for the whack jobs in a place.
Yeah,
and that part of it is just something you have to be constantly aware of. And it seems like both those guys, both CJ and Tank, seem to be pretty confident in who they are, and that you gotta realize at times if you got friends that are saying, "Oh, you've changed." And how come you're going to be like that? Like you gotta tell that guy, like, listen, either you give a damn about me or you don't. So then you cut yourself off from those people. And again, there's no news or evidence that Tank, knew either of those guys or anything, but it's just, you got to be hyper aware and hyper vigilant of all that stuff.
And just the stuff where he asked, like, his friend assured him that they were going to, they were frisking for guns and things like that before they went. Like, man.
You know what the hardest thing is sometimes? Sometimes when you're a young athlete and you might be out at a party or something, it's hard to tell the difference between somebody who's giving you a menacing look versus somebody who's, like, studying you and thinking about whether to approach you or not. Because there have been times where I've kind of like my spidey sense went off and I'm looking at some guy who's eyeballing me, and 20 minutes later he comes up and he's like, I got to tell you, man, I just love you, blah, 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 blah. And then that's a different kind of concern. It's like, what are you taking, are you going to send me pictures or something? Like, okay, all right. But usually it's
less dangerous.
It's really hard to read. Yeah, it's really hard to read.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, you can't tell, man. The look on the face. We got to assume positivity.
Well, except Tank shouldn't have assumed positivity.
No, but
assume positive intent. Yeah, that's the dicey thing when you're out amongst the public.
It's true.
You can't assume positive intent.
Here is C.J. Stroud on the moment he found out that Tank had gotten shot.
I get a text, and it was from our PR guy. He was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, what happened last night. And all I read after that, he sent like a whole long paragraph, but all I read was Tank got shot, and I dropped my phone, and I started tearing up, man. I'm like, like when you hear that, you thinking the worst, you know what I'm saying? So like, first thing I could have did was I just said a prayer, and my boys was with me. One of my best friends, Caleb, was with me. He seemed like I was down. He asked me what happened, and like why I was like tearing up, and I'm like, man, they said like Tank got shot. I'm like, man, like. All the plans we had, by the glory of God, nothing that happened, and like
God is good.
God is great, he saved my boy from a tragic situation.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
I'm glad he read the rest of the paragraph though. He went back. He didn't immediately.
He left out the important part.
He went out and bought a white suit and organized the Tank Dell Memorial.
Right. No, he's still with us.
It is kind of crazy that you can sit here and talk about Tank Dell right now with zero concern about how that's going to affect him and everything. Especially remember when there was that little gray period when there wasn't a whole lot of news other than D'Amico saying, well, he'll be fine, but he wouldn't give specific dates or say whether he was going to be okay for training camp or anything. Yeah. And then you found out that Tank Dell had surgery at one point, so it's okay. They're calling it a flesh wound, but maybe it's more complicated than that. But just by his appearance at OTAs and him out there running around and everything,
he looks good.
Yeah,
he looks good, and we'll get a look at him the next couple days out of minicamp.
And the Instagram video that he put out himself. Yep. But even after the Instagram video, you didn't know for sure. Like, okay, these are very controlled circumstances.
The Instagram video, I didn't know if it was recent or not. That's true. You never know on Instagram.
Plus, and the problem with Tank Dell videos on Instagram is they always look sped up. It always looks manipulated by artificial intelligence. But his highlights from college and in the NFL are the same way. You're like, that's not really sped that out. That's at 1.25 speed.
Very real intelligence. Yeah. Yes. Okay, now the fun part. Colts season opener in Indy, September the 8th. Circle the date, because these guys love to talk trash to C.J. Stroud. Yeah. Here was C.J. Stroud on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, just going after. He goes after two of their linebackers.
Zaire Franklin and E.J. Speed.
E.J.
Right?
Speed.
Yeah.
Here's C.J. Stroud on the trash talk with E.J. Speed.
Like my boy E.J. Speed, but it's a ton of dudes. It's not just E.J. He with my agent, and I tell him this to his face. I don't even tripping. But like a lot of dudes come to these podcasts, like, oh yeah, I'm coming to hit. I'm gonna hit CJ in his face. I'm gonna get him next year. Why don't you do something? Like where I'm from, we say, why didn't you do something where you was mad at? You was mad right there, my. Do something. Right. You could have made hella plays, bro. You could have made plays, dog. Right. You could have shut me up right there, but you didn't. Right. So what make you think you gonna do it now? And if you do, I'm gonna come back, bro, for real. This ain't for no play, bro. I'm like, come on, man.
Got him in that mode.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the mode I've been waiting to get. Like, I'm going to slam CJ on his head. Like,
Man.
You should have did that then, bro.
Right.
Now we're going to have another opportunity, and we played them first game of the year. I'm excited. The Colts. We play them after they play. It's going to be rocking. Indy hates me already, and I love it.
Yeah. Hey, what do we know about Indianapolis, Ben?
He estimated that just the residents of Indianapolis ate about 2,000 pounds of cow manure every year.
Fact.
Yeah. They're all fueled up on cow manure,
They're all
ready for
on
blood.
Their feces coursing through their lower intestine.
Weirdos.
Not the way it's supposed to either.
So here's the thing about this. This is elevated very quickly because Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed on Zaire Franklin's podcast at the end of the season, like at the very beginning of the postseason, were saying all kinds of things about how much, they really, really respect C.J. Stroud, but, they football hate him, and they want it, and they went back and forth a little bit, but now this feels like it might really amp it up into genuine hatred.
Yeah.
I feel like this.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be big think pieces, kind of like Caitlin Clark right now, where next year they're going to be saying things like, should they be treating somebody like C.J. Stroud like this?
He's the future of the league.
He's the future of the NFL, and these guys are being mean to him.
Hip checked him.
And C.J. be like, no, I don't need y'all's protection.
Right.
I'm going to be just fine on my own. I don't know if you've noticed, but they can't seem to catch me.
No, by the way, there's 10 other good quarterbacks.
That's where C.J.'s ability to be elusive without being overly athletic is really frustrating to linebackers and guys where they know they should be able to catch him, but they don't.
Here was Zaire Franklin. So that's CJ talking about EJ Speed. Zaire Franklin was on Chris Long's podcast recently, and was specifically talking about CJ and how much trash CJ has been talking since the season ended. The two ran into each other at the Super Bowl, and Zaire Franklin construed that interplay that the two had as CJ talking trash to him. Here, first, before we get to CJ talking about Franklin, here was Franklin on Chris Long's podcast.
You could have a beef with any team in the AFC South. Would it be the Titans?
No, because I already smacked them a couple times. It really be Houston. It really be Houston. I'm not going to lie to you. I love CJ, man. I support all our young brothers at quarterback, but CJ, he didn't say a lot of wild stuff to me, and our run-ins, at the Super Bowl, at All-Star.
What did he say?
Many times, and he feeling himself. But look, he in Tokyo, so congrats. I'm happy for you, but I need to see that boy again.
Okay.
Congrats on making it to Tokyo, apparently.
Yeah, safely.
Sorry, Zaire. Maybe someday you'll have the coin to get to.
Don't anybody tell Zaire about Travelocity. Okay? It's no big accomplishment.
Congrats on you traveling internationally.
Yep.
He's still too afraid to leave the state of Indiana.
And Indiana, and all the cow manure. So that was Zaire Franklin. Obviously, he interpreted whatever interaction he had with CJ at the Super Bowl as some degree of shade.
Yeah.
Because he's feeling himself,
Right,
CJ is.
right.
So here was CJ on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, kind of wondering what the hell Zaire Franklin's talking about.
And he be talking about me all the time, and I know he going to see this. I ain't tripping. Yeah, bro, Zaire. Zaire Franklin from the coast, on the 44.
Yeah, I know.
He
from Philly?
Yeah. He from, so that's probably where it come from. And bro got game, but it's smoke. I ain't tripping, bro be talking about me.
He coming for you.
I'm coming too, though. It's bro, come on, bro. I'm like that too, dog. I respect you because you making the league. He just got paid. Shout out to bro. I'm happy for you, bro. I want to see any black man get paid in this league. Anybody in general. You deserve that money, bro. He a good player. Yeah. But it's man, he know we and that's what I like. It's two dogs ready to rumble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So he be talking crazy.
Oh yeah. But with him though. He said something the other day, it was on a podcast.
I saw it.
He said that in person, I said something to him, talking mess. I'm I don't remember that to be real. We was at the Super Bowl, I seen him, and somebody asked us to take a picture together, so we took a picture together. And, I was hey, man, I think I was just talking, you know what I'm saying, just on some cool shit. We off the field, I'm not really tripping off you, bro. And then he go on a podcast the other day talking about.
So he was capping on the podcast?
I don't think he was capping. I might have said something, but it rubbed him the wrong way. Yeah. But y'all Philly niggas a little sensitive, man.
Yeah, he crying over the game.
But bro, we play. It is what it is.
Use the S word.
You know who else has a big grudge match against those linebackers is Dalton Schultz.
They
had actually mentioned when it all got started, when Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed were saying really nice things about CJ Stroud right after the season. They were talking about how they grudgingly accepted that Dalton Schultz had some dog in him. because EJ Speed said, a lot of times you talk crap to guys and they'll be like, hey man, why are you saying that? Where Dalton, you go back to those playoff games, forget the drops if you will, but going back into the Colts game, which was the play-in game, and then the playoff games, Dalton was looking for contact after the catch. Like he didn't just want to break tackles, he wanted to bulldoze people. It was really cool to see him running with the ball. And he had a run in with EJ Speed and they got up in each other's faces and everything. So that'll be another one. So I don't Stephon Diggs not one to shy away from a grudge match. On his team, off his team, anywhere with a pothole. He's not afraid of a grudge match.
Those CJ cuts and that Zaire Franklin cut, I am amped for September the 8th, man.
Honestly, this is starting to feel like potentially in the 20-plus years existence of this team, this Texans team.
Is it?
Feels like this might start to be the first real
rivalry,
all out and out. Yeah, like it started off with some friendly trash talk. I think these guys might all just really, really hate each other by the end of this season. I love it.
Yep. Text message, Zaire Franklin versus C.J. Stroud could be epic for years. I'm down, man. I'm down. Let's do it. September the 8th. You can hear the game right here on Sports Radio 610, by the way.